This is Turn on the Bright Lights by Interpol. Let's talk records. In 1997, guitarist Daniel Kessler, who was looking for like-minded individuals to start a band with, met drummer Greg Dury. Kessler then met bass player Carlos Dengler at NYU, where they both went to school and hit it off. Sometime later in the East Village, Kessler ran into guitarist Paul Banks, who he had met before in France, and they talked about collaborating for a band. Banks eventually became the lead singer. They all got together and started playing in small venues, but without having any concrete name yet. They thought of names like the French Letters or Las Armas, but they decided to go with Interpol instead. Interpol is actually the name of the international police organization that collaborates all over the world to fight crime. In 2000, Interpol released an EP called ID number 3 on indie label Chemical Underground. Shortly after this, drummer Drudy, who was in a screamo band called Siatia, left the band to focus on his post-hardcore band Hot Cross and his record label Level Plane Records. After Drudy left, the band recruited drummer Sam Fogarino, who had been a staple of the South Florida scene since the early 90s, playing with such bands like the Holy Terrors and Gus. Fogarino had moved to New York in 1997 and was working at Brooklyn clothing store Beacon's Closet when he met Kessler. Interpol then released another EP called Precipitate, this time releasing it themselves. 2001, Interpol signed with legendary indie label Matador Records. On Matador, they released a self-titled EP on June 4th, 2002, which included early versions of PDA and NYC. The band then began recording a full-length album at Tarquin Studios in Connecticut, which was a studio owned by Peter Cadis, who co-produced the album, who had been an engineer for many indie bands. The producer was Gareth Jones, who had worked as producer and engineer for such legendary acts like Depeche Mode, Tuxedo Moon, John Fox, Ice Tours and No Button, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Erasure, and others. Turn on the Bright Lights by Interpol was released August 19th, 2002. On Matador Records. The album cover features a photograph by artist Sean McCabe. The manager of the album was working at MTV, where he met McCabe and asked him if he wanted to contribute some art for the album. McCabe contributed with a picture from his own personal collection of a photograph that he had taken at a London theater. The first single of the album was PDA, which was released August 22nd, 2002. The song goes back to the early days of the band, and it had been featured on all the previous EPs released. The music video was directed by Christopher Mills, who would go on to direct music videos for Broken Social Scene, Modest Mouse, Blue Rodeo, Rush, Metric, and others. Sadly, the song didn't chart. Obstacle 1 was the second single released November 11th, 2002. The music video was directed by Floria Sigismondi, who had directed music videos for David Bowie, Tricky, Curve, Sheryl Crow, Bjork, Leonard Cohen, John Spencer, Blues Explosion, Sigur Rós, and others. The song reached number 41 on the UK singles chart. Say Hello to the Angels and NYC were both released as double A-side, April 14th, 2003. The music video was directed by artist Doug Aitken, who had worked with many different art forms, including photography, sculptures, film, etc. The single reached number 65 on the UK singles chart. Turn on the Bright Lights by Interpol reached number 158 on the US Billboard Hot 200 and 101 on the UK Albums chart. It has since been acknowledged as one of the most important and influential albums of the early 2000s. It has now been certified gold in both the US and the UK. Rolling Stone magazine ranked it number 59 on the 100 best albums of the decade. Enemy magazine ranked it number 8 on the 100 greatest albums of the decade.